here comes rant time. Here comes big old rant. We're going to do this rant, and then we're going to go step into the game world. We're going to see where my rant actually connects. Okay, so I feel like games, and actually just almost all creative works, are about an internal logic. And we tend to speak about things as good or bad, or a right design or a wrong design, something like this. But really, it's right or wrong with respect to that particular internal logic of the game. So, in a game like Dota, the internal logic of it is stressing the importance of decisions. You're getting highly rewarded for good decisions, you're getting punished for bad decisions. So what are some of the mechanics that tie into this? Well, even if you haven't played Dota, you can still make... I'll explain it so you know what I'm talking about. In the first 10 minutes of the game, with a particular character, you have enough mana to do 3 stuns. You have a stun ability, but you can only cast it 3 times in the first 10 minutes, given how many resources you have. So the question is about, when do you cast that ability? Now, let's imagine that we were in an action RPG. Being able to only cast an ability once every 10, or once every 3 minutes or so, or 3 times every 10 minutes, that would be horrible, because there is a sort of internal logic of action RPGs that's kind of about the spray of abilities. Whereas in Dota, it's about the exact precise use of particular abilities. So this is one example of how, due to the internal logic of each of these different genres, the same mechanic must be bent heavily in one way or the other. And I think that there are... I'm hesitant to use the word genre, but it's maybe the best one to use right now, because like genres are they're marketing terms. They kind of lose out on the nuance and the meaning of things and all this sort of stuff. But there's lots of categories of games, I guess I'll call, that exist, that we're familiar with. In particular, we're familiar with the internal logic of that game. And I think that a lot of the achievement of the Souls-like games is that at a surface level, they appear to be an over-the-shoulder RPG with some action elements. Okay, and it has a really cool, rich world, and you know it's more dark fantasy inspired than high fantasy or sort of like a cartoonish fantasy look. I can imagine being in a pitch meeting for this. I can imagine, like, Demon's Souls doesn't exist yet, explaining that, no, but the way in which this is going to get configured is going to create a different type of experience. And it's kind of, like, hard to get what someone means when they see that. In the same way that if I played a lot of Diablo 2, which is an action RPG where I'm casting a shitload of abilities, and someone says, no, but I'm going to create a competitive 5-on-5 where you can hardly cast your abilities at all, so it's all about the right time to cast them. You know, my reaction might be one of, no. You should be casting a lot of abilities. I play Diablo. I know what's fun, right? And I feel like so often when I either work on design projects or I'm just reading about other people's design projects, or I'm brought in as a consultant or some shit and I hear the team talking about like the design of the whatever, it's like the internal logic of a particular category of game, it's kind of like a black hole. It just keeps sucking the design back to what its wants are, right? You start to push out, I don't know, and it needs to come on back. And in the Souls games, I feel like they first say, slow combat that is about timing. You look at where the enemy is at in their animation, you get a feel for how long your animation is, and you're trying to slot in your combat into where their points of vulnerability are in time. It's a very rhythm game kind of mechanic. Except this is a rhythm game where if you miss the beat once, you could die, and you have to completely start all over again. And so the joy is very different than an ARPG joy of just shooting out lots and lots of abilities. The joy is in getting really familiar with and reading the timings of these types of abilities very, very well. And then the game says it's extremely punishing. If you die, you get reset all the way back to the beginning, because we think that players getting better and improving is a form of joy. We don't want to help the player along because we want to force the player to experience the love and the joy of improving to where they can get through it. So you have this combat that individually is very engaging, and then you create a kind of gauntlet that challenges you to be sufficiently good. And there's something, this is a bit of a sidebar. What I find is fascinating about Dark Souls difficulty is Dark Souls is less difficult and more punishing. You just need to be extremely, extremely, extremely careful with what you're doing. And it's pretty straightforward. If you know the animation, you just wait till they're in the vulnerable period and you hit it. But if you mess up once, you get sent all the way back to the start. So it stresses patience a little bit more than it stresses difficult complexity. It's not like a chess puzzle where you need to spend years studying, and it's that kind of difficulty. It's punishing, again, less so than it is abstract and challenging in the way a chess puzzle is. So you have this combat layered on top of this difficulty, this challenge to move through, which causes something that is so easy to not have in other games. It causes you to pay attention to the space. If I'm dying and going through the same area again and again and again and again, and if in future areas death is imminent and there's lots of ways to die, it makes me want to look around and observe my space and see what's going on and remember how things are connected and appreciate and have an emotional connection to this thing. And it's such an interesting way to make someone feel like they're in the space and that they care about the space and that they're connected to the space through punishment. I mean, again, just think about how weird this sounds in a pitch meeting. We're going to make a game where players experience and feel connected to the world by how punishing we are. Now, I'll note that in 2009, this was a really critical period of time in gaming because the iPhone came out in 2008, excuse me. 2007, 2008, maybe 6, 7, 8, something like that. The iPhone had come out sometime in there. Yeah, 2007. Great, thanks everyone. And the App Store was becoming a thing. And I was in graduate school for game development, for interactive media, because you always have to have your degree sounding a little hoity-toitier than you actually are. And this was a huge topic of conversation. Oh my gosh, now anyone who just owns a phone can suddenly buy your game and it'll be $1 or something like this. And so there was an enormous swing, a huge push in 2007 to 2012 to do obsessive focuses on accessibility. How do we make this as simple as possible? Games on Facebook developed by Zynga are not about the complexities of games in the past. It's all about accessibility, accessibility. And we saw that there was this almost reality-deforming consideration. Holy shit. If we make this game easy enough to where someone who's never played a game at all can hop in and get it, then the market is the entire world. Like, oh, everyone was so excited. And there started to be what I will call somewhat misguided evidence. It was true that there's a lot of merit in helping someone get in and play the game, but as we've seen over the last 10 years, like, you know, you can't just throw a mobile game at a wall and become a profit center, right? You still have to do the challenge of good game design, but whatever. But even so, it made people push everything towards accessibility, 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 where accessibility meant easy, simple, clear, simple, easy, basic, 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 that sort of thing. And so I was just talking about the idea of different categories of games are kind of like black holes that want to pull your design closer to what was, not what could be. And the business development side was another black hole pulling everyone towards simplicity, removing barriers, lowering the barrier to entry, all this stuff. And then so this game comes along with just a pitch that's so in the face of this. But again, coming back to what I started with, games are about internal logic, and this game figured out a new internal logic. And that's what I think is its real achievement. It's the combination of a combat that makes you pay attention in a second-to-second sense, with a difficulty level that makes you pay attention from a minute-to-minute sense at the area, And it, hold on, I'm making a great point. No, get out of here. Get out of here. That makes you pay attention in a minute-to-minute sense. And then absolutely beautiful, I know, I love you too, absolutely beautiful environments that wind up being the reward for how you explore. And in particular, little gray cat. Hi. And in particular, these games do something that games have shied away from, even today, which is really big surprises. I was just playing this game. I died to a demon, and all of a sudden, I was warped to this really bizarre, cool, interesting area. This is a cool moment. And the Souls games have a lot of, hey, here's a wall that if you hit, it'll open up to an entire zone, and if you didn't discover this zone, you don't get to experience it. Can you imagine? Like, a lot of Western companies, a lot of modern Western companies are like, okay, how do we ensure that all the players experience all the content? Because, by God, we only have enough stuff for 12 hours. Why the fuck would we hide 3 of it in a hidden area? Like, why would we do that? That's an insane and bad decision. Okay. And yet, this mixture, oh, Jesus Christ. Well, you're like a shark. What are you doing? What do you want? And this fucking cat has ruined my train of thought. How am I going to sound intellectual enough to make myself feel less insecure when this cat is here? Yeah. Oh yeah, the painted world of Ariamis and the Ash Lake and the returning to the Undead Asylum, all like very, very hidden areas. Anyways. The interesting second-to-second combat, the minute-to-minute attention due to the scariness of the space, and then the hour-to-hour continuous reveal and surprise and shock, I think all tie together to make for just a new kind of experience. So the level design and the world design and the environments wind up getting 2 things to happen to them. One, there's a lot of set pieces that this game does to make sure that there is a feeling of whoa, of wonder, of wait, what the hell? And of interesting intertwined level designs in Dark Souls that makes you go, wait, is that... Oh, I was down there 2 hours ago. Holy crap. That sort of thing. But also, it's a very efficient asset creation. Where if my environment artists are working on something like... I mean, honestly, like some of these Call of Duty games have sequences where there's like a plane crashing and it's really visually vibrant and you see it and it goes by and it's done. The character walks from here to here and they have to run because they're being chased, so all this beautiful environment art you get to look at for 15 seconds and it's done. But in Dark Souls, because you're retraversing due to the difficulty of the gameplay, you don't actually have... You get more hours of content per piece of asset created.